fighters take off from an aerodrome somewhere in the western desert. They will act as fighter escort to this formation of bombers. The fighters are operating as overhead cover whilst the bombers do their stuff. Task finished, the fighters peel off, and the next thing on their program is a little ground strafing.
The Spitfire. The story of a plane that saved a nation. The story of the Spitfire begins all the way back in the 1930s with its designer R.J. Mitchell. Mitchell, who spent his time building a series of seaplanes in the 1920s. He created these series of seaplanes for the Strider Air Race. The first prototype of the Spitfire took to the skies on the 5th of March 1936, and over the next 12 years after that, more than 20,000 Spitfires would do the same thing, take to the skies. And of course, over the next 12 years, finally ending production in 1948, there was many adjustments made to the aircraft over the years. They made many changes to the Spitfire over the years, including some alterations to the fuselage and increasingly better engines made usually by Rolls-Royce Merlin. The Merlin engines are amazing and they use them in a lot of aircraft, but I think the most iconic is the Spitfire. The eventual top speed of the Spitfire averaged out at a rather fast pace, equivalent today of a number of aircraft that fly commercially. The Spitfire's top speed was roughly 405 miles per hour, which is fairly fast, and with it being light and nimble, it was pretty quick in the air. If you're someone who is into kilometres, it's about 650 kilometres an hour is the top speed of a Spitfire, but its operational distance is still fairly impressive, although it is nowhere near as large as modern militaries have operational distances at. The Spitfire's 980 miles an hour or 1,577 kilometres is still impressive. The ability to operate in almost 1,000 miles is pretty good. The Spitfire's speed and agility made it the perfect prime tool for the British RAF. And little did the RAF know, prior to the 1940s, how vital the Spitfire would become in their survival. Unfortunately for R.J. Mitchell, he would never see his amazing, nimble Spitfire planes in combat, as unfortunately, just a year after the first prototype took to the skies, R.J. Mitchell passed away. But the torch of designing and improving the iconic Spitfire would fall to his apprentice. who would continue to make alterations and changes. Oh yeah, and the assistant's name was Joseph Smith. If you can get another generic name, well, it's one of probably the most generic names in the world, Joseph Smith. Could have been worse, could have been John Smith. In the beginning, the weapons of the Spitfire. In the beginning, the Spitfire was equipped with roughly 8 303 machine guns. Later Spitfires were fitted with 20mm Hispano cannons, along with the original Browning 303 machine guns. Some Spitfires were retrofitted and were altered to equip and carry explosive bombs designed for air attack. Spitfire's wartime. The first time the Spitfire was used by the RAF was actually in the 1930s, specifically in 1938, but it would go on to be used to save the nation and would become one of the most infamous and iconic aircraft of World War II. The Spitfire would take part in some of the most iconic battles of World War II, including the Battle of Britain, where over 370 Spitfires took on more than 500 German aircraft. The Spitfire also played an important role in attempting to stop one of the worst things to happen in British history, the Blitz. The Spitfires attempted to stop enemy bombers as best they could, but you can't stop them all. They also took part in some of the most iconic missions of World War II, such as the evacuation of Dunkirk, where the Spitfire provided vital air support to allow smaller vessels and larger vessels to evacuate the troops from the Dunkirk beaches. Beyond the evacuation of Dunkirk, there is only one other extremely well known day that seared into the world's memory. The Spitfire provided vital air support for the invasion of France on D-Day. Without the Spitfires, more than likely D-Day and the invasion of France and the D-Day landings would probably have gone even worse than they did, because without air support there is no way of being able to not only see what's ahead, but also in order to not just basically run into a meat factory and have all the troops be shredded. Air support is vital. Even today, countries would rather use their air forces to attack and use the air forces to cover their troops' approach. Granted, we tried this in World War I with artillery, called them barrages. They didn't work, because either the troops walked too slowly behind the barrage, or the troops ran too quick and got caught by our own equipment. So at least by World War II we had figured out the best way to give aerial support, and that was using ships. That was using a series of ships and aircraft carriers and all sorts of other shippable, usable, lightweight parts, such as the Spitfires, in order to dominate the skies. The Spitfire also gave some very supporting and very good support for things such as bombing raids, including one of the most iconic bombing raids of World War II. The Spitfires escorted and supported the Lancaster bombers, who are known as Squadron 617, otherwise known as the Dam Busters. So the Spitfire doesn't just attack enemy fighters, they also provided logistical support for completing missions that were very, very important to the Allied invasion cause. If you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye!